Hey y'all, it's your girl Tpretty Smile in the building with Real Raw Let's Talk. As you can see today, we got some new company in the building. So pause real quick. I forgot to tell you, don't look at this screen.
Okay,
because
that's what I figured. I'm throwing it off.
I'm like, gonna show my bad.
Yeah.
Damn, BT. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Can't stop the hot shit. Fuck still got shit, nigga.
Welcome to Real Raw Let's Talk, back with another good episode, y'all. It's your girl and your host, Tpretty Smile, and today we got some fabulous guests I want to introduce y'all to so we can dive in this unknown topic real quick, okay? So we got Miss Daniels in the buildings, who is an educator / entrepreneur, and wait till you find out what her business is, guys. And we also have Miss Fire and Desire, as I call her. Miss Fire in the building with Pretty Puff. Once again, you came back quick. Back for another one. Y'all, we got two queens at the table today, and I want to dive in a topic, but first I want to dive into who Miss Daniels is. Miss Daniels, you are an educator, you are an entrepreneur, you have a book out now as well that you're part of. I want you to go ahead and tell them a little bit more about you, because I'm not going to give you justice. I know you are fabulous and more, so I'll let you do the doings.
Listen, I appreciate you having me on, but I don't know if your audience is ready.
They used to take advantage of that though.
Yeah.
That I be high and they come ask me, Dad, can we slide down the banister? I'm like, shit, go ahead, as long as you don't hurt yourself. You know what I mean? So
I am in cannabis, and I have been known from time to time as the weed lady, and I kind of take that as an honor now, having been in the industry as long as I have, and it has taken me on an amazing journey, not just in my personal life, but professionally. And it is not one of those industries that you think it's hey, this really is a get rich, but it is really a stick and stay, and really how many lives you're really impacting. So that's what I do. That's what I do.
Yes. And y'all know Miss Pretty Puff. For y'all sleeping out there, Miss Pretty Puff, okay? Miss Fire, you make some fabulous things to go along with the cannabis realm, okay? Go and tell them a little bit about you.
I'm on the creative end of it. I make custom rolling trays. You can get a set. Comes with a grinder, lighter, stash jar. But it comes with a lot of, I can't even think of everything. It comes with so much.
The lighter.
You got a one hitter in there. It's fun.
I got you. It's also a smoke shop, so I also sell, gas masks, bones.
Yeah, all that. You need it all.
It's the network for me.
Yes.
Do it all. So I definitely, guys, want to dive in the conversation about marijuana today. I feel like a lot of podcasts talk about it, but we got a VP and we got another VP in the building. So we're going to give y'all some facts, some knowledge. Miss Daniels going to give y'all the facts and knowledge because Miss Daniels going to give y'all the facts and knowledge because you educated and that's what you do.
We're going to learn today.
We're going to learn
today.
I like that. So I want to start off with, what was your reaction? Let's start there first because you're a pastor's wife.
I am. Amen.
Let the church say it again.
Amen.
Let the church say it again.
Amen. Yes.
Let's talk about
I willingly married a pastor.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Look,
yes,
one forced. It happened.
Yes.
I want to talk about that because you don't see that a lot.
No, you don't. I have a couple of companies, and we can get into the brands and all of that's important, but really is what is it impacting your life? Because I got into this business knowing that it was going to be a challenge. All right, because you have many of us, we're in the South, right? We have no culture of cannabis. And so it was even just trying to get people to say the word. Ain't that right, Ms. Puff?
Right.
Just say the word cannabis and understanding what marijuana is. And I'm not cussing you out, right? When you're saying that, and marijuana is not the name of the plant. And so when you call it cannabis and understand it as what it says in Scripture, cannabis, right? That these plants were given to us for our good. And so when you understand just that primary minimal part, I hope and I pray that it will take down some of those barriers when we can have a real healthy conversation about cannabis. And that is one of my businesses, which is called Healthway Education Systems, where your little sister over here, I'm very honored to have had the very first catalog of medical cannabis accreditation in the country. So, so I've been doing this a long time. A long time.
A long time. So, White Girl Magic.
Yes,
White Girl Magic. Okay. So, tell us a little bit more about, like, why do you think there's such a ugly look, especially from the church side of things, when it comes to the cannabis?
We've been told a lie. And so when you have the lies and it perpetuates itself, right? And we are subjected to the laws that are on the books. And so that's why if you're in the industry of cannabis, when I got into the industry, it was, how I make some money. I'm like, you got to figure out the market first. What's legal, what's not legal. And it's been over 10 years at this point. And so when you're getting into it with the business, you have no choice but to be an advocate. Because the walls that present themselves, and I will tell you this, how that barrier of entry isn't what it used to be. And so because I'd always been in the church, involved in the church and in ministry, and people are like, girl, she over there selling weed. But wait, then you say, Puff, come let me talk to you after church. We ain't a problem about it. You can't demonize me and then say, hey, can I holler at you?
I'm parking next to Deacon car.
Right, that's part, all of that. But when I got in the industry, it wasn't even that I really got into the industry. I was taking care of my mother. I was my mother's primary caregiver. And she had everything but cancer. And so I never smoke, but you can never test me, right? But I don't smoke it as a carcinogen, right?
Okay.
And so I said, okay, well look, if this stuff is supposed to be what it's supposed to be, we gonna try. So I tried giving it to my mother. This the church lady, from Louisiana.
You gave her
I gave her flour. It's all cannabis.
Okay, well, flour?
The flour.
Okay.
Because in its
you
raw,
got Delta.
that's right. You've got all your deltas. All the flour has Delta. All of it has Delta. Okay. And so when I was giving it to her, so you can have the flour. The flour is not your problem. Don't be scared of the flour. It's just treat it like oregano. Treat it like a seasoning.
She said, put it on your spinach.
I do.
Put it on your seasoning.
Put it on everything. Because when you understand that it can be used as a superfood, right? And man, this takes a minute, because when I got into it, knowing that I was in the church and in ministry, and those who are making the judgment of what is it that I'm doing, but if I don't say anything, are you saying everything? You keep putting your house up to get Pookie out of jail for possession of weed, or you think that they have an addiction because they started smoking weed. And so now in our community, if you don't understand what's happening in the house, okay, and understand the dynamics of that, whether it be they're selling it on the street for profit or they are smoking it because of trauma. And when you don't deal with those extremes, you think what? It's your enemy. Weed ain't the problem. And so I've been to churches, and we wrote a curriculum or a class called, God and Cannabis, right? And what does the word say about it? And not to make me or you be judged for consuming cannabis. But my position on when I started my business, Healthway, was what was the healthiest way to have a conversation with my family, my friends, and my doctor. It's the healthiest way to do that. And I want to choose, if I want to choose cannabis as an option for my wellness, I want to exhaust every option. And that may just be one of them. So that's why I started with cannabis in the church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look.
Now, tell me one thing. What made you want to name it Captivating the Light? Because it captures my attention. So, Captivating the Light.
The way you do it when you move your body,
Captivating the
look, I
Light.
wanted something that was going to grab your attention and keep your attention.
but with the sweet too, y'all. And y'all know I got a sweet tooth. So let's dive in a little bit more. So how long has Captivating the Lights been around?
I would say a few years, maybe about 4. Or legitimately for real, like the last 2 years. Because I took a break after things happen in life, you know, life is life. So you take your break and then you come back, you have a rededicated mindset. So that's what I had to do. I had to figure out if I just play with this, I'm gonna be real with this and be true with this. So that's why I came back to about 4 years, been making. But we cook. I mean, we slap in the kitchen. My whole family do. So everybody is good in that field.
Everybody toe up in
Oh
it.
yeah, everybody got their special dish, a couple of special dishes. Don't come with no store-bought potato salad, 'cause we're gonna talk about
We're gonna talk about you.
Don't come without no eggs in it, 'cause we do that.
And what for?
That macaroni and cheese better be wet, 'cause if it's dry, baby, put it in the fire. 'Cause I don't know what
We
y'all
ain't
do
eating it at the
when-
cookout.
So I enjoy cooking. I enjoy sharing stuff with people. So I really enjoy making food.
I love that. Y'all, her vibe and her spirit is just on point. So before you go, I got 2 more things to ask you.
I got you.
Like, where can they get in contact with you? And tell them what's next for the special delight, honey. Captivate.
Yes, I enjoy catering parties. I love doing dessert shots. I love doing many things, like little bite-sized bites. So I do cater parties. Like I said, I'm taking my classes to become a master cake decorator. Because learning ain't play.
It ain't no game.
It's not easy. Because what's under the bun? Is it nasty or is it good? And so I have that going on. And then you can contact me and connect with me. I have my business card. I'm old school, so I'm not on the gram yet. I'm getting there. The gram be cramming, and I don't know if I'm ready for the gram. But I am on Facebook. So yeah. So and my phone number is on there. Contact me. Let me know what you need, and we can work something out. Prices do be pricing, but I don't like to hit people on the head. I definitely make it fair. You know, we can conversate and talk about it. So you know, yeah, I'm available. I'm available to you.
She's here for you. Okay.
Super fun.
I love it.
Seriously. I feel like, you know, it's kind of like back in the day how being gay was. Like, telling your parents or your family you smoke weed, it's like coming out the closet.
Yeah,
Type, like,
it is.
they think, you know, it's like a gateway drug to other things.
But mama been smoking weed, okay? When it come out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, go ahead. No, I found out. You're right. I found out my dad, my dad passed away. My biological father had smoked when I was right before I was born. He said, I stopped smoking when I thought you was born, or I was gonna have you, so I stopped. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what made you stop? I can understand I can understand why you're having a child. I get it. But a lot of my family don't admit that they do, or it's a hush-hush type of thing. You always know who does it, because after the barbecue, everybody go, all right, I'm going to go to the car. I'll be back. The I'll be back crew,
I'll be back. So when we are dealing with all of these elements in our community, in our generations of the different experiences that we have, and we're drug use, alcohol use, and those things that we, tell ourselves and our families that this is bad. And when you abuse anything, is it what? It's bad, right? But I remember I would tell people, they'd come up to me and like, okay, well, Miss Weed, since you want to talk about weed and everything, and I'm saying that, and I don't want to disrespect the plant. So when you're talking about cannabis and they're saying, well, I think that my son is addicted to it and so forth, and I say, okay, well, do you like Jerome? What was going on with Jerome when he was 3, 5, 7, and 9? Okay? And when we understand, okay, do you like Jerome on it or off it? And then they got to deal with They got to deal with real issues. Do you like him when he's on it, or when he's not on it? Well, I never thought about that. Well, let's just think about it. When he's on it, you can deal with him better, right? All right. So I want you to treat cannabis and the cannabinoids that are in this plant as a way to replenish where we're deficient in. So if your doctor tells you that you're iron deficient or vitamin D deficient, right? So we are cannabinoid deficient. And so that regulates throughout our spleen. So when you're dealing, you didn't ask me all of this, did you?
I want it. Go with it. Look, I need to write this down.
Right, so when you're dealing with someone who's already on a precursor, and I tell people now, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, okay, that's my disclaimer, but I know my weed. Okay, but when you're dealing with early childhood traumas, right, and we can say that when you say, man, that boy crazy, right, okay, so we have traumas. Trauma, I lost my job. Trauma, I can't put gas in the car. Trauma, my dog, I can't, my bank account is low. Trauma, we're getting ready to get evicted. Trauma. I have a death. Trauma. I'm getting a divorce. Trauma. And that means we have breaches. And when the breaches are there, it inflames these sensories that we have, our receptors. I'm going to be very elementary here. But you can visualize what it is. It causes inflammation because God says I'm going to, I don't want to use the word curse, but you will have inflammation in your body, right? It's in the scripture that he says that, okay? Pastor, tell me which scripture that is. Anyway, but when we understand what our body is dealing with, and when you consider that you may be deficient in something, so with Jerome, you like him better when he's smoking, right? Okay. Now, so what happened? What is he running from? What does he need to do to cope? What is he trying to do? So, and then the mama starts crying. I'm like, no, you can't cry yet now because you said he was on drugs. You know what I'm saying? So, but when you deal with those issues, you can understand better. Now we need to find out if he's got the right strain. Does he have an indica? Does he have a sativa? Is he smoking something that's going to be favorable to his endocannabinoid system? Right? And when you can understand and admit that we got stuff, cannabis isn't your problem. It's not the gateway. The cannabis is working to calm their inflammation down. So when they venture off to something harder, there's a deeper problem, not the cannabis.
I like that you said that it's not a gateway.
It's not a gateway.
A lot of people don't know. I went to college for substance abuse, and they didn't get my diploma because my math class. I'm mad about that.
Your math wasn't math.
My math wasn't math, and it still ain't math. But I went to school, and that was one thing that they beat in us was that marijuana is a gateway, and everyone was like, oh my goodness, and we can't do that. We can't do marijuana. So I always looked at people for a long time with this egg because they smoked, and I was like, oh, Mr. Martin gonna be doing coke. Like that's how it was in college. It had me looking at it like that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Right.
That it's not a gateway.
And so people, mostly those who are in the church, will make the argument that it is. But anything that you take in abundance, okay, can it be an addiction? Can you get addicted to it? Of course you can. But the trauma trauma gives you an addictive personality, not the marijuana.
Ooh,
okay? So, that's where we are with, let's start taking first steps to understanding why they're consuming in the first place. Okay, so 3, 5, 7, and 9, Jerome y'all went through a divorce. Maybe you were experienced as a mother domestic violence. Maybe the child was seeing that. Maybe you moved around a lot. So that means that we got to have some responsibility for some things, right? All right, so maybe you need a gummy,
And that's part of the problem.
And
we don't like to admit that.
You don't want to admit
part of the issue.
That we are a contributor to what the issues are, right? And so when you have a moment and you can reflect on what was happening with Jerome. So if Jerome, you out there, I ain't really talking to you. But if you know Jerome, then let's pray. But if you just take a moment and ask where they are, right? Are you smoking the right stuff? That's a difficult question. But I talk about cannabis all in my life. My children, that's what they know that I do, But now my teenager, she like, y'all over there smoking? What y'all smoking? You know, so she in school. But it has been an amazing journey. It has not been an easy journey because we're judged on, you know, what we find our passion in. And as much as I've even tried to come out of cannabis, the Lord's like, no, this is the work that I want you to do. And so it brings me to here to meeting you.
Good, and I'm loving it, So let me ask you something else. You said that your kids know what you do. So how was it bringing that conversation to them? And what, actually, let me take it back even a notch. What would you suggest to parents out there who are talking to or need to have a conversation with their kids about cannabis, marijuana, things like that? How would you tell them to facilitate that conversation, or suggest that they facilitate that conversation?
I would suggest them reflecting on what's happening in the house. You got to own that.
That's a good one.
Because it is an option that when I'm with my homegirls, you know, they're in school, they're at the after party after the game and whatever, and somebody auntie got them a joint. Okay, that's what happens. You got that one uncle, that cousin, and that auntie.
We all got one.
And they say, you just stay in our house and you're going to be all right. And that's cool. To an extent, right? But, and I don't approve of that. I'm just saying, we understand that it happens, right?
Today's sponsor is brought to you by Shop Pretty Puff. I know you guys been seeing the little trinkets and little gifts when you get on the show. That's all due to Shop Pretty Puff. We definitely appreciate you. Get your customized items at Shop Pretty Puff. And don't forget to use the code Let's Talk 20 so you can get your discount. Tell them T Pretty sent you.
Okay. So now I know that my young person they're smoking. So you have to consider that they're dealing with something. Okay, they want to calm down from something. You probably had them on ADHD. You've probably had them on something. Sorry, not on ADHD, but some type of Adderall or Ritalin, or you needed to get them on some. Okay, so understand that those run hand in hand, right? Those are your gateway drugs, your Adderalls and your Ritalins, because they're dealing with the trauma and the inflammation in your receptors.
Preach to them. Preach to them.
So, and again, I'm not a doctor, but look, A and B, that go together, right?
Yeah.
So they're dealing with the receptors that are heightened.
Okay.
And what that medicine does is, what does it do? It's designed to take them down, right? To be able to cope. They can have some coping skills. They can communicate. They can focus, right? I'll never forget, I worked at this one job, and I had some young people that were working under me. We were in the kitchen. And this young boy would come in, and I'm like, did you get in the tree today? He said, no, ma'am. I said, go on back outside. Don't clock in yet. Just go on back outside.
And that's keeping it real.
And get in the tree.
Just keeping it real.
Because I need you to focus. And I know that helps you focus. So get in the tree, and then come on back in. And you're good. We're going to have a good evening. We're going to have a good day, aren't we? Yeah. Cool. No problem. So if you're a parent, I encourage you to, we always say don't judge, but as we're judging, right? Don't judge as we're judging. And ask yourself, what could be causing them to explore getting high? Because that's all you see, is they high, right? So then we may or may not be honest with ourselves. Okay, shoot, dang, I told them they couldn't do this. I told them they couldn't do this. You can't do that. They can't do this. Yes, you got to do this. You got to do that. I got to work late. I got to do all the things, right? You know, daddy issues, mama issues, all of it. They exist. And so now Jerome, you know, he's 15, and his friends introduced it to him, and whatever he consumed responded to his inflammation. It responded to his receptors, and he can say, you know what, it ain't that serious, right? He's trying to do what? He's trying to manage being able to function throughout the day, without getting on his mama's nerve. Let me take the trash out, all and everything that comes with his day, right? And so I would ask as a parent, what's going on? You know, are you running from something? Is something troubling you? Did something happen? Did I do something? Did your dad do something? Did something happen at school? So when you smoke, how do you feel after that? Do you feel like you can do more? Do you feel like you can do your homework? Do you feel like you can get up in the morning? Are you having suicidal thoughts? Do you hear voices? You better ask.
Okay. We all need to know.
You better ask because there's something clearly there. And cannabis is what they're doing is responding to the, I call it spirit, to the inflammation that's happening on their inside of them. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you calm and you chill, or if you smoke something you weren't supposed to smoke, you're like, ooh, rabbit. Right? Then you don't smoke that one no more, right? I will say this as a cannabis professional, I'm not a proponent for smoking. That's just me. It could be a cigarette, it could be anything. But when it comes to cannabis, because it's so medicinal, you're burning off the medicine. It's just, so that's my only personal. You do what you want to do. It doesn't matter to me, but when you're wanting to actually deal with a glaucoma, if you're wanting to deal with COPD, if you want to deal with pulmonary issues, you want to deal with all of the things that are happening, I want you to vape it. Right, sis? Because you got vapors over there, right? That's when you go over there to her. And you go over there here to see my sis, and we're going to get you hooked up on how to consume it properly. Does that make sense? Okay.
And I feel that. I think one thing is a lot of times we don't kind of feel like we don't have a problem, like you said. And I think everybody don't realize that we all have a vice. Regardless what that vice is, we all have a vice. And sometimes we just kind of tend to want to look over what I'm doing to point the finger at other people.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to cannabis. But I wanted to ask Pretty Puff, what are some of the myths that you have heard with cannabis or, marijuana? Because, commonly we hear like, oh, if I smoke this, my headache gonna go away. I got a headache today, or it's gonna build my appetite before we go to first. So what are some myths you heard?
It's a cure for everything. If you smoke it, like you said, you won't have a headache. You won't be hungry. It's gonna make you hungry if you don't have an appetite. Pregnant women smoke it or they say they smoke it to, build their appetite up. Like it's the gateway drug. That's a huge myth.
I know. Find that out was something new for me.
Let's see, what else have I heard? I don't even know.
You'll get addicted to it, right?
It's addictive.
That's a big one.
You'll get addicted to it.
That's a big one.
And
That's a huge one.
I don't think about, I need to go smoke because, like, nothing triggers me to go smoke. I feel like me now, like, I'm honest with myself. Like, I attribute a lot of that to going to therapy. That helped me, figure out what my triggers were and just learn more about myself. So that is I don't use weed to escape anymore. I did before, but with therapy, it's just for me, it's just I'm going to smoke this blunt and go paint, or, like I said,
I
need to go get dialed in or something.
I feel like I tap into my higher self. But I don't think the way it's looked at, like, it's just such a negative, like, oh, you smoke weed, like you said, you're doing drugs. And it's just like, no, I get up and I go to work. I'm pretty normal. Like, I'm not a functioning addict. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay I call it self-care. After a long day, you take a bubble bath, relax, hit your blunt or your joint or whatever, and, going about your day. It doesn't have to be just a negative thing like, oh, you smoking weed because you're trying to escape. No, I just like to get high. I like the feeling of being high. But to what she was saying about why she shouldn't smoke or why you shouldn't smoke it, I feel like I do want to transition to that, to not smoking just to get high, for just put it in my tea or, make an edible or something, just, take it in other ways just to I don't know.
You can grind it and put it on your salad. Put it on your spaghetti. Put it on your, I put it on everything. Right?
Let's talk more about that because there are different ways. You got, pins. You got your carts. You have, the regular. Now they have the tincture oil. Can you explain like some different things about them? Like, because I've always heard, okay, well, if you take an edible, you only gotta eat half. If you don't eat half, you can't eat the whole thing.
That ain't.
Explain about that.
Okay, where do we start? We call them. How do you want to deliver the medicine to your body? So we call them delivery methods. I want to deliver it in food. I want to deliver it in oil. I want to deliver it on a topical or a salve because I want it to penetrate what's going to penetrate the best way. Okay. Right? So the oils are ideal. They are ideal because they're going to get into your bloodstream the most fastest or consistent delivery. Okay. And so you would take an oil, but you have the different milligrams, right? And you're going to have a 500 milligram of this or 5,000 milligram of that. And you have to have some understanding of what it takes to actually produce what it is that you're getting ready to consume, right? And so, that's what helped me train on that. How do I be a good consumer, right? How do if I'm going to try this, what's the safest way for me to start? Because, like, for instance, this morning, because I'm getting old, so the rain came, and I'm like, oh, that's Arthur coming, right? Arthritis in the rain, the old
right. It's real.
It's real.
It's real.
And I said, okay, well, what do I want to take that's going to give me the quickest relief, right? So I took what is called a gel capsule, right? It took about an hour to kick in because it has to metabolize, right? So you've got capsules, and so how long does it usually take to get through? How long is it going to take to get into my system? I have the oils, which are quick, easy. I put the oils in my tea, and then I've got flour. I'm always a proponent for raw flour, okay? Raw flour, if you don't burn it, it's still in its acid form. And the THC, don't you say no THC? Right? You won't be impaired as if you heated it.
Oh.
So you can eat it fresh. Put it in a smoothie. Take your bread and crumble it. Baby.
Sister, help us.
Yes.
Help us.
Just grind it in your grinder.
This is fascinating.
And I leave it on my counter. It's an herb to me. I have it in lemon pepper seasoning. We're working on
the seasoning.
We have it. Yeah. Yeah, so we're even working through, even consumable product lines like that. But when you're taking it, you want to be conscious of the serving. And so when you're saying, take half the gummy or half the brownie, that's not true. Because street brownies, y'all be over there tripping. You don't know what if they're baking it, and we're a little more sophisticated than it was before, but they would never know what they put in there.
What's up, world? It's your girl, Tpretty Smile, host of Real Raw Let's Talk. So today we're going to talk about getting you on the show. Now, we're already at the best studio in the DFW. That's A-list photography. But along with that, you're getting JFL, who's the best videography and photography in the game. Okay? Also, with being on the podcast, Terrell Montez, who also is a media influencer, is going to offer you a review at the end where you're going to get a chance to sit with him, chat with him about being on the podcast itself. So if you need your business promo done, inbox me now. You want a review on the podcast and you want to be on the podcast, inbox me that too, because we got topics to talk about, honey. But are you ready to get real and raw?
Dick, come take it from the back then. He ain't trying to make no moves, I left them in the past.